Thank you, Bill. I remember being a ball boy back when the Hartford Knights played, which I thought was an exciting thing for me being just a youngster. Went on and played football here in Windsor High School. At the time, Peter King, well-known writer for Sports Illustrated, was the local beat writer, so I always tease him that I made him famous. But he's gone on, and we share that familiarity with Connecticut. He was one of the first people to congratulate me about coming to Hartford. And then as a youngster, I had a chance to go to Boys State, which they have every year, and I was fortunate to represent the state at Boys Nation. And that was another time for me that I really got a chance to feel proud of being part of Connecticut among 50 other kids that were from across the country. So Hartford's special, and it's important to us. It's important for us to do well. And so that meant we had to get the right coach. And we did a national search, and we looked for someone who had been a head coach in the National Football League, because we thought that that was an important criteria. You're going to have to put a team together in a very short period of time, maybe about 3 weeks of practice, run essentially 90% of an NFL playbook, offense and defense, be ready for special teams, 2-minute drill, 4-minute drill, and to coach the quarterback position, which is one of the things that we really want to focus on in our league. So how do you find somebody that has all of those criteria and ingredients? Not that easy. Unfortunately, we found the right person. Not only was he a guru in coaching in the National Football League and having been a head coach at the Cleveland Browns, he worked with me at the Jacksonville Jaguars and put one of the most prolific offenses together with relatively unknown players, Mark Brunell, Jimmy Smith, and Keenan McCardle. The two tandem became 5th highest ranked passing tandem in NFL history. He's coached quarterbacks Eli Manning most recently, among several others. He's noted for doing that. We were very fortunate. We talked to Chris about 1.5 years ago, and he watched the league last year. He won a Super Bowl ring in the interim, so that was sort of good. But he played at Immaculate High School, Southern Connecticut State College, coached at UConn, coached on the same staff with Randy Utzel when we were all together in Jacksonville in a year that we won 15 games. And fortunately, we didn't win the Super Bowl that year, but had an outstanding time. So I know the character, I know the quality. His wife, Donna, was there with us, and we got a chance to know each other very well. I'm glad that she's here today. But this is a man who is not only a very talented football coach, he's an outstanding individual, and he is committed to this community. When I asked Chris, which team would you like to coach, it wasn't a question. He said, well, if there's a New York team, I'll wait and I'll coach the Hartford team. And we offered him the opportunity to coach the New York team. So I think it speaks volumes about who he is and about what kind of coach he'll be here and how fortunate we are here in Hartford to have him as our new head coach. And let me introduce him now, Chris Palmer.
Thank you, Michael. I want to thank the governor for coming today. I know how busy you are, and I want to thank you for coming. Mayor, thank you for coming. I know how I have some relatives that are in the political arena, and I know how tied up they get. I want to thank Andy Baylock, the guy that I coached with at University of Connecticut, for coming. And then there's a couple of my roommates and friends from college, Lenny Corda, who's the athletic director down at New Britain High School. It's good to see Lenny. He was a real outstanding linebacker. Joe Lenta, my agent. Mike, we call him UConn Mike. He's an electrician from Danbury. So we have a bunch of friends here, and I'm really excited about that. But when the opportunity presented itself to come to Hartford, Michael had talked to me about going to New York a year ago, and this was my first choice. And for the last 2 weeks, I've been out in the community talking to the people at the Crown Plaza, trying to find rooms for our players and stuff like that. And we have been received unbelievably. I watched the TV last night. There is definitely a niche for this league in this area. The people are excited about it. And my ties, as Michael said, I went to school at Immaculate in Danbury. Then I went up to Southern Connecticut, and we have some Southern Connecticut alums here today. Then I went up to UConn, and I've seen what the UConn program, John Toner, the athletic director, had a tremendous vision in trying to develop the sports programs up there. the men's and women's basketball program. You look at the football program, what Randy has done with his staff and with the players, it's just unbelievable. And then to come back and start my first head coaching job at the University of New Haven, and now come here and be the general manager and the head coach. I'll tell you, it's a lot easier just being the head coach. The general manager deal, there's a lot of budgets and things like that. Maybe I can talk to the governor about the budget here a little bit. But Larry McHugh was a great high school coach down at Xavier. And when I was thinking about coming to Hartford, I called Larry and asked him for some wisdom on what do you think, is the community ready for it, and so on and so forth. And Larry's now the president of the Chamber of Commerce for the Middlesex County. And Larry said, Chris, all I can tell you is that New Britain, the Rockcats draw 366,000 fans, and that's AA baseball. Well, all of a sudden I said to myself, there's a market out there. And deep down, I'd like to be a businessman someday when I get done coaching, but I said, there's really something there. Then Peter King, as Michael said, he called me at home, and he talked about him and his brother coming down to the Hartford Knights and being at a game and how much that meant to him and his brother. And I called him back and I said, Peter, what was the color of the team? He says, I got to call my brother. I said, well, you're a good reporter. You can't even follow up on that. So, and he got me back the colors, and Michael was right. They had a gold helmet with black. You know, we're looking for colors for the team. We're looking for names for the team. So I said, geez, well, that was a great experience with Peter. And then I'm talking to Eric Mangini, the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. I was talking to him about a coach that I was interested in hiring. And Eric said, hey, let me just tell you something. He says, I'm really, really interested in what's happening in Hartford, because my dad and I'll always remember, his dad passed away, I'll always remember going to games down there with him. And he said, anything I can do, you just let me know. So there were two people that I said, you know what? We need football in Hartford. We need something that a mom and dad can afford to take their kids and go and see a game. It's affordable and bond with the players. I've talked with the commissioner about having our preseason camp here in the Hartford area. So in August, that the kids can come out and see our players. Now, when you see our players, they are big. They're one step away from the National Football League. Many of them have played in the National Football League. I coached in the USFL, where we put 187 players back into the NFL. So sometimes players don't develop as quickly. You know, they're 22, 23. Well, all of a sudden they're 25, and they're a different human being, and they're ready to play. And they just need a chance. And I think this league will give those kids an opportunity to play and develop their talents, and I love coaching. But the thing that really sits with me is that the kids will be able to come to our games. They'll be able to come to our practice. It'll be very affordable. Mom and dad will be able to do this in this tough time economically. And they'll walk away, and maybe the next Peter King, a writer for Sports Illustrated, the next head coach of an NFL team will start with what we have on that field. So to tell you I'm excited is an understatement. I'm looking forward to it. I want to thank the community for receiving me. Now, I've called a lot of people, and I say, this is Chris Palmer from the UFL, and they're saying, okay, who's playing a joke on me now? You know, and I think now some of them will return their calls, but I will say this to you. The people have been very, very receptive, and I'm looking for a long and very great, prosperous, victorious stay here in Hartford. Thank you very much. Now that, one thing I forgot to tell you, when I retired from the Giants, I retired on Thursday, and my wife said, you can stay around the weekend, but on Monday have a job. So I know the governor is getting ready to retire, and I know Lou a little bit, so when things get tough around the house, you may have to put this helmet on. All right, thank you, Governor.